For inviting me to deliver today's lecture, Emerging Demand of PPPs in Punjab, Pakistan. Incorporation of Pakistan Society of Civil Engineers in the year 2016 as a public limited company for advancement of civil engineers' knowledge and well-being of fellow men and women is a great step forward. It indeed was essential to form this forum for advancement of engineering knowledge and development of engineering community. So thank you very much. Today's topic which I will discuss with you is emerging demand of PPPs in Punjab, Pakistan. The PPP is called P3 also, public-private partnership. This concept, you should keep these three words. It will be repeatedly done. PPP, P3. So my lecture will be a sort of a presentation and with my presentation also. Something I will explain on presentation and something I will just talk as a sort of lecture. And then there will be I am trying to give you an example. In 2000, I was the first person, most probably the first person in Punjab who was able to do a BOT project. That was the Lahore Shivpura Faisalabad Road. Then it was just beginning. I was given this task and we succeeded in doing this work. So that is an example, and I will try to give you the background and what is happening today about that project. And I start here. The developing world has adopted principles of free market and seeks participation in the world trade system. Market-driven business coupled with success of privatization in various countries, the promise of efficiency, savings, and a reduced burden on strained public resources has certainly increased interest and popularity of PPPs in countries operating under tight budgets like Pakistan. We are budgeted, we don't have money to spend, then we start talking about PPP as a one alternate. Acceptability of PPPs more generally is explained in terms of their expected benefits, including access to private finance for expanding services, clearer objectives, new ideas, modern technologies, better planning, improved incentives for competitive in tendering, and greater value for money of the projects. There is also added pressure. This is another thing. Please listen to it. There is also added pressure for developing countries from international financial institutions such as World Bank and IMF to shift to efficient and facilitative role of government and adopt principles of market liberalization and privatization. This is the message. PPPs indeed evolved over the past decade as an important aspect of the donor country development thinking and a central component of foreign policy towards developing countries. Developing countries have initiated PPPs in various sectors, including infrastructure, manufacturing, and services. Although private sector participation is increasingly invoked in developing countries, the success of the failure of PPP projects has not been systematically assessed. The PPP's debate is still conducted in terms of public bad, private good, and vice versa, on the basis of selective evidence. This is particularly the case in developing countries where distrust in government prevails. PPPs imply a collaboration to purpose common goals while pooling resources and strengths of public and private partners in the pursuit of a common objective. Now this slide will explain to you what happens normally. Left side is a normal project where government comes in, government designs, government finances the project, and sometimes execute the project. Or for a short period engaged a private partner in form of a contractor. But in this form, all finances is with the government, all risks are with the government. If the project fails, the road fails, if the building is not working, water supply scheme is not working. These are all risks associated with the construction. So who will bear this? Government. Who's financing it? Then you bring contractor for a short time. He is a private, but it's short time duration. But in typical PPP arrangement, government is not provided that. Government becomes regulator. And private party comes in, bring the finances. What they want is regulation, law, control. Don't disturb us. Then and this is a long-term relationship. This long-term relationship itself, I'll give you an example what is the meaning of long-term relationship. A road project is not only building a road, it is maintenance for 25 years, concession period, for the complete concession period. So that guarantees, if you monitor properly, that guarantees that it is not only built, but it is also maintained for a certain period. So this scenario, in this fully public sector, passive, there can be passive investment from the private sector. A bond, if you issue bond, they can buy bonds, but actively government is doing everything. But on the other hand, otherwise, all is being done by private sector, and government is only regulatory role is there for the government. So this is the difference between what government is doing, what PPP is doing. This is a partnership, it is an ownership. It is a provider, it is a regulatory function. PPP is defined in many ways. If you look into the definition of PPP, it's very important. One definition has been adopted by National Assembly also. So if you go to the website, you will find a definition of PPP adopted by National Assembly of Pakistan. There is World Bank has also defined it. I think that most relevant to me is definition given by Center for European Planning and analysis, policy analysis, which says long-term contractual arrangement for the delivery of the public service where there is a significant degree of risk sharing between the public and private. It is a risk sharing. I told you before the risk of building a bad thing. It is all on the government if it is not functioning properly. But here, the private sector shares this risk, invests, and he ensures himself that design is okay, so it can be maintained, the road, building, water supply scheme, whatever it is. It could be maintained for a certain period. So if there is a failure, if it is not completed in time, so this risk is shared by the private sector. So it is a partnership of sharing. It is an addition, it is admitted fact, there is no single PPP model. The diversity of the arrangement will change with changed legal status, governance management, policy setting, prerogatives, contributions, and operational role. However, actual partnership involves collaborations in the pursuit of common objective, with clear assignment of responsibilities depending on the area of competence between partners. Most PPPs in third world development do not seem to meet this criteria. Donor agencies often promote privatization and government subsidies to the private entrepreneurs in the name of building PPPs. However, privatization and subsidies must not be confused with PPPs. Subsidy is totally different. Privatization is totally different. PPP is a partnership with a private person. So it should not be confused. They should be separately dealt. Some conceive PPPs as representing middle path between state capitalism and privatization. Privatization indeed did not result in massive reductions in national debt, nor did the private sector demonstrates universal superiority in running businesses. We generally believe this thing in PPP's case, they can run business. It's not a universal. Yes, they are more trained, but there can be failures also. So when you are selecting somebody, so we have to be very carefully. Universal superiority in the business. PPPs therefore is seen as a way of involving private sector in projects of public importance. Significance of PPPs. Actually, I'm not sure. I wanted to get my computer should be before me. Okay. Anyhow, it has two parts: significance to the government, and then significance to the private sector. So why? What is significance of the PPP? For the government, it provides required capital while meeting public needs. This is what government wants, they should meet the public needs. So sometimes they spend capital from their own pocket, but also they bring, the private partner brings external capital, technical expertise, and incentive-based structure to fund public projects. This is advantage of PPP. You get more funds to meet the needs of the public. Potential to improve the quality of service made available at lower cost. Long run cost is lower than what public is spending on the projects. Sharing of financial load and risk. Development of the local private sector. This help in developing the local sector also, public sector. Capabilities in form of joint ventures and subcontracting. supplements limited public sector capacities, deliver greater value for money. And what is its significance for the private player? Funds provide required gap capital. Gap capital is just if you want to build something, say a road, and its cost is 100 rupees, but you have only 80 rupees in your pocket. So make this project feasible, you need 20 rupees. If you, as a private sector, you don't have, this gap is filled by the government in the concession. Government say, okay, we need this project. You can fetch only 80 rupees from private sector. So we are ready to give you 20 rupees so that we can get a project of 100 rupees. So this is what is funds provides required gap capital up to 20%. You cannot make a gap capital of 50%. It has to be between 50-20%. What rest is met by private. I think you understand what this is. A good return on investment is an essential consideration. And private investor come, he will always keep a good investment. They should be interest. He should get reasonable profit. Why he should expect this? Because there is a opportunity cost of money. If I have 10 rupees, I put into the bank, that is the safest return. And banks give me 5-7% interest. So I will never do a work at 5-7%. And I'm also taking risk. So there is a risk cost coming in. So that you have to give a reasonable profit, seeing all this scenario, to the private sector, and then you can make a successful venture. Helps exposure to big scale projects and offers bigger foreign projects. It develops, contractors development also is taking place by this. Contractors doing a bigger, large project, so he has chances to do this, expand his business beyond the horizon of the country. He can go and do an international contracting by learning confidence, experience from such private projects. So it is a contractor building process also. Help to expand the span of quality service and operation efficiency. I told you it's a long-term arrangement. So it expands the operational time and service. So standards, if you fix properly in your contract and then you monitor it properly, so you can have a better service for a longer period of time instead of 1 or 2 years, and then you don't have funds for maintenance, so everything starts spoiling again. You build a road, you don't maintain it, within 5-6 years potholes start appearing, cracks start appearing, rutting starts, but there's no money to repair it. So the service is not there. But a private sector with this concession, a contract, he has long-term commitment, 20 years, 25 years. So you will have a better longevity of the service. That is one advantage. Sharing of financial load and risk, and protection during market downturns. Contracts with government help promote goodwill and opportunities of joint venture and subcontracting capabilities. Showcase multi-national partner work, cultural capabilities and abilities. So this is how the two parties work. Next slide. This is how now we work as public sector and private sector work in two different scenarios. Their thinking is totally decision making, their goals, these all are different. Their management methods. But now when you make them partner, so you want to get the best of each. So this is how it is the West has benefited from the private sector. After Cold War phenomena, it was very important because for many years public sector remained dormant, but private sector was developing. When private sector was developing, then Europe thought, okay, yes, we should get benefit out of their efficiencies. So this is how PPP concept also bred. Now I'm telling you, okay, what is the management? How the management is different. You see, okay, blurred agent relationship, principal relationship, inward production, reactive style. Things we want to do PPP. They're not preparation. Start thinking. Build 5 million houses. This is just a reactive style. We start thinking of how to build these houses. There's no preparation, no groundwork. But when private sector works, proactive style, they just try to think how to expand business. They are always trying to do something. They have already plans. When there is an opportunity, they will get the benefit of it. So this is a vast difference between the management of it. Stakeholder interests but less constrained. What are the goals? Difference. Multiple and sometimes vague conflicting goals. Too many things. They want to keep people happy. They do some investment also. They don't have money. They want to save also. So multiple things are in their mind. But a private sector is unidimensional. Once he decides he has to do this thing, then there's no two decisions. That is the main difference between the two. Closed system leading to government, leading to continuity, consistency. Entrepreneurial system, open, adaptable, focus on outputs, outcomes, market prices, subsidy centers. Labor, high unionism, salary grading, high security of employment. Now we have grade 17, grade 18, grade 14. Lower unionization, employment based on performance, less security of employment. Private sector. So communication and reporting system, bureaucratic and formal, non-bureaucratic and formal, more direct communication, internal communication via written memorandum, face-to-face communication, emails, not paperwork, not much paperwork, but government believes in too much paperwork. Formal committee structure, they form committees to decide. Ad hoc team working, financial targets, outcomes, the fixed time, rule book procedures, the government. The rule says this thing, rule like this. So you are working within the rules. So private sector is not doing this thing. Then nature and location of business. Politically and geographically constrained, business development limited. Location mainly national. Location international. Overseas ventures, diversification, investment, and divestment mergers. So this is the difference between the two, and this is how they work, this is how government works, and this is how we are behind from the world. The foreign agencies also see this thing. They say, okay, you should become regulators, not doers, because of your traditional, not doing work. Next. I'm sorry कि मुझे वो थोड़ा सा अब आ रहा है प्रॉब्लम आप उसमें करने के लिए I cannot because that is there. So I don't know what is happening here. Then नहीं मेरे ख्याल है अब I don't want to change now at this stage. The nucleus of PPP. PPP three-pronged approach. Risk transfer. This I think you understand now. Okay, what's risk transfer? Long-term contract you understand now. What's long-term contract? Partnership agreement. That is called concession agreement. So there is that risk transfer. How the risk is transferred? Cost overruns during construction. Who will bear it? Private sector will bear it. Construction delays and long-term maintenance of the assets. This is assured by manage its own risk return ratio. It is private sector's, private partners' own working how he will ensure that his return is there. If he has taken some in mind, there are some figures, then he will work to get this risk return. It is his risk return. Government is not bothered that he will get this return or not. He has to manage it himself. Next. Considerations for choosing vendor. How it is very important that when you are choosing a partner, business partner in PPP, so he should qualify, he should have certain qualities. So that is I try to, he should have quality of managing the risk at the lowest cost with minimum frequency. Means it should not, risk should not repeat. If there is a fall in the revenues every time, every 3 months, it should not happen. It can happen 1 or twice. So he should be able to manage his risks and it should not repeat again and again. That will be failure. Develop risk absorbance and mitigation strategies if need be. You should be capable of doing this. At best manage the impact and absorb risk after it occurs. Look for 4 C's when you are partner: capability, commitment and control. These are the 4 C's, Reliance 4 C's, which you should find in your partner while choosing a private sector. What is drawbacks in this? Optimism bias. Private partner wants to get the project, but he overestimates his capabilities, underestimates the price, and try to get the project. So that is a danger, a drawback in the PPP system. So how to mitigate it? A corporate risk, liquidity of private party, ever fluctuating market, like here dollar is changing, everything is changing. So it is a big risk for the PPP projects. So it has to be a stable market. How to mitigate pessimism bias? During the process of decision making, accurate and precise estimates should be done. This is the public sector's job. Okay, they should be capable of doing this analysis. Okay, what are the expected revenues? What are the expected traffic for the project? If I am saying 100 trucks will pass, I will try to see 100 is passing or not. It's 80 or 100. So I have to be very careful, because if you overestimate, then revenue will fall, the project will fail. So a pessimism should be, while approving, you should be pessimistic. Next, how liquidity is with third party surety bonds, insurance, minimize, maximize, and add this risk to the cost of the project. If you know the cost of the risk, you can add in a better way. But if you have no idea of the risk, the cost will go up. So it's very important for the analysis how you do it. Benefit of long-term contract. PPP contract is a long-term contract. Structure for the outputs and cost over the entire life cycle of the project. 25 years, 30 years. So the structure is long time. It allows the private sector to reduce costs and improving quality of service by long length of the project, ushering in benefits and advantages to all vendor, contractor and general public. What are the constraints in such a PPP arrangement? Long-term planning period. Planning period is long. It can take 2 years, 3 years to plan a project. Long close, many things. Complexities of the various projects. Complex projects has its own risk. Hold-ups caused by change in position of partners. This secretaries change, chief engineer is changed. So this affects this. Technocratic implementation. Reductionist measures. Instilling competitive norms instead of cooperative ones. Next. The challenge is to ensure that the multiple interests of the key stakeholders are skillfully negotiated and is packaged in concession. This is very important. Concession is the agreement between partners. How to structure, next slide, how to structure a PPP. The art of PPP resides in allocation of risk. Place framework, inbuilt principles and rules to deal with change. Change will occur, but you should be prepared for how you will deal the change, because it will occur. Structuring of a PPP contract includes incentives and penalties to ensure the stability and sustainability of the project. Investors see a significant risk in form of change in political government or policies, which implies to termination of contract and payment risks. So this is this risk you have to keep in the contract. You have to mitigate this risk. How to structure a PPP? Compliance with tariff law, adjustment of tariffs at operational phase. Therefore, a private project can be easily politicized. Investors seek protection against such risk through guarantees, sometimes backed by multilateral or international arbitrations for dispute resolution. They say that if there is any dispute, we will not go to your arbitration. We will seek an international arbitration, so we can get proper decision from the arbitrators. Private investors performance guarantees for compliance, and government gets these performance guarantees if the company doesn't deliver the product or service at the agreed level of quality and timing contracted, the government draws on such guarantees. Government will draw the guarantee as a penalty to the bidder. Proportionality of penalties is important for the sustainability of the contract of the long term. Contracts should mainly ruled by incentives rather than penalties, giving both parties every reason to fulfill their obligations for the entire term of the contract. For mutual advantages, PPP is developed by trust, openness, fairness, and mutual respect. Look for structure which creates win-win situation for parties for mutual benefit. Now I will present PPP in Pakistan, what has been done, Punjab, Pakistan, up to now, where we stand. There is clear correlation between infrastructure spending and economic growth. If infrastructure investment are not kept at required level of at least 6% of gross domestic product, economic growth is arrested by at least 6% of gross domestic product, economic growth is arrested by power shortages, traffic congestions, high transport costs, and other infrastructure bottlenecks. Due to reduced fiscal resources, money available with the federal government in divisible pool for less than anticipated tax collection, coupled with government's efforts to reduce current account deficit, it had spared only 3.2% of GDP for development against 6%, which by any standard is insufficient for sustainable economic growth. Donor agencies like ADB and World Bank, IMF, too have advised government to encourage concessions on user-payer revenue. You use a road, pay the toll tax, and this is how revenue will come. It's called user-payer revenue. Generation models, PPPs are a well-accepted procurement and financing modality to address an important portion of these infrastructure gaps. Like most developing countries, government in Pakistan can find it difficult to charge users to cost reflective tariffs for publicly provided services. It is difficult for the government to do this, but in private sector comes in and he can do this work better. And PPPs have been able to overcome political economy barriers. Improving public service quality and increasing operating efficiency are also usually emphasized objectives for pursuing fiscally responsible PPPs. PPPs also bring fiscal risk. These need to be mitigated and managed. To address these challenges, the government has introduced legal and institutional reforms to develop capacity and conducive environment for developing PPPs. Proposals that can maximize value for money to taxpayers, right frameworks, and efficient teams and environment is essential for successful procurement of PPPs. Basic frameworks are already in place, however, their development is a continuous process. Okay, we were far behind in this. So I will now present a little bit case of Punjab. 18th Constitutional Amendment devolved the main responsibility for infrastructure development to provincial governments. The evolution of responsibility is still to be matched with financial and technical capacity development at each provincial government. Punjab is the largest province of the Pakistan and accounts for 52% of population and 43% of the country GDP. Bankable infrastructure projects, if implemented in Punjab, can have great impact on overall Pakistan, on overall PP market in Pakistan. The infrastructure and social service needs of Punjab outpace the provincial fiscal space, which has further shrunk due to rupee 400 billion revenue shortfall in divisible pool. Allocation for the infrastructure development project has been large cut. For example, allocation for the road sector has decreased from approximately rupees 120 billion in year 1819 to rupees 32 billion. And if you look at the dollar effective amount, ADP for the road sector is not more than 20 billion. Current. 120 to 20. Government of Punjab has reflected its across the board emphasis and interest in PPP's project modeled on user pair revenue generation. Private sector participation in infrastructure and social services has long been recognized in Punjab to be a key project development instrument with support from ADB Public Resource Management Program. A private sector development committee was created, chaired by Chairman Planning and Development Board, to oversee the development of an action plan for implementation of a PPP roadmap. The PST committee was also to provide guidance to the PPP cell that was set up in PNDD in 2008, in charge of the drafting the policy and regulatory framework. Because a large group of population could be willing to pay user fee or tolls, a project development facility was established and related guidelines were approved by the provincial cabinet in 2009. A US $1 million allocation was made to this facility in the year 2010 budget, and a preliminary list of potential PP projects were identified by PND. Under the PRMP, indicative actions included the establishment of a PPP steering committee in 2010, chaired by the Secretary of PDD, and with representation from the local business chambers, Government of Punjab and the private sector. Focal points were established in some 9 departments, and guidelines on PPP projects, inception, preparation and transaction execution were drafted. A risk management policy was developed which specified criteria for risk management in defining principles in terms of project quality, legality, fiscal prudence and financial obligations, and the PP risk management unit was also set up in the finance department. All this has been done, but unfortunately there is no big leap in PPP. So it is also a challenge for the young engineers. Okay, they should train themselves in PPP. They should study how best it can be done. So in near future, I think there will be demand of engineers who have knowledge of PPP concepts, and they will help not only government but also private sector to invest in PPPs. So that is a challenge for the young persons who want to be part of the development of Punjab. Asian Development Bank has recently conducted a survey of Punjab and Sindh, and they tried to figure out why there's a delay, why there's no progress in PPP. They say that PPP pipeline development is not correct. There's a weak PPP capacity in the government. They are not willing to do weak project development. These are the reasons they have given why PPP is not progressing in the country, in the province. There's all different alignment, flexibility and capacity procurement function, viability gap funding. We are not able to decide about this thing. What is the ADB plan forward? They say that a comprehensive capacity and institution building response is required from development partners to address the current needs of provincial PPP development in Pakistan, with a major focus on Punjab and Sindh, the provinces that dominate the economy of Pakistan. ADB is programming to arrange a technical and financial assistance initiative to make PPP relevant for Pakistan development. The assistance initiative will, under preparation, address the binding constraints of PPP development in Pakistan, lack of institutional capacity across the appraisal chain through which PPP transactions are supposed to be processed from conception to execution. In other words, both the banking industry and the State Bank of Pakistan has a role to play, along with business and consulting outfits, establishing and their international functions, franchises that allow those to trade on transaction advisory rules of varying degree of sophistication. Now, in the end, I will present a case study which will be, I think, of some more interest. This is how a BOT, build, operate and transfer. This is, there can be many arrangements of PPP. BLT, build, lease, transfer. BOO, build, own, operate. So this is one of the form, BOT. It has three pillars: build, operate and then transfer. Okay. Private sector will come, design the project, build it, operate it for a certain period of concession, and then transfer to the government. So this is how it will work. So this period is how this period is fixed. He has to get his return with interest. So that period normally is, we see in the financial model, it is settled down. I will try to, Mr. Sohail is here, I will try to explain certain terms which are very relevant for the BOT projects. This project was conceived in the year 2000. Then I was made in charge of this. At that time I was Director Project Investment. A governor approved following 4 steps. There was no law then, there was no policy then, but government asked us to do this, take this initiative and build some projects on PPP. A project private investment cell was headed by SC or director was formed. I was PD of that. Bid evaluation committee was also second thing which was done. Advisory board was formed. Punjab Road Infrastructure Company was incorporated. We were supposed to look after all BOT projects in future. what issues were resolved by BOT? Traffic projections. It was a road project. The first thing was to have a very good traffic projections for 25 years. Because toll is to be collected from the traffic. If your projections are good, then the project is successful. It was a Lahore Faisalabad road was a green, it was not a green project, it was a brown project. Meaning by, we already knew the traffic passing on this road. Green traffic is a totally new alignment. It was not a new alignment, it was just dualization, upgradation of the road. So the idea of traffic was good. You have more data, you have more confidence. So otherwise prediction of traffic is quite difficult thing on a new road. How the traffic will transfer from one route to another route. Then project capital cost. You have to guess, estimate correct capital cost. So all depends upon the cost. Toll rates. What should be toll rates? Okay, people should also pay, and then this toll rate should be able to pay back the all investment with profit in a certain period. This was another challenge. Concession period. Then what should be the concession period? It should be 10 years, 15 years. Concession period means contract period, or 20 years, or 25 years. If we say it is 25 years, then this question will come, why not 10 years? Yes, it can be 10, but then toll rate will go beyond the capacity of the user. So you have to make a balance between the two things. Risk mitigation, design approvals, appropriate forum for approval of BOT projects. There was no known forum at that time. Quality assurance during construction and O&M phase, operation and maintenance phase. Control on toll revenues, how it will be controlled. This private projects help prepared technical and financial feasibilities of 4 roads and 1 bridge projects. Detailed traffic analysis, draft concession agreement was prepared, approval of competent forum was obtained. Which roads were included? Lahore Sheikhupura Faisalabad, 120 km. This was given name of BOT2. Lahore Kasoor Road, 40 km. Wazirabad Sialkot Road, 38 km. Gujranwala Sheikhupura Road, 48 km. Kutab Shahana Bridge near Sahiwal over Ravi. And loan closed for BOT2 achieved and work awarded to LAFCO in 2002. Gujranwala Sheikhupura Road is also now offered to the private partner on BOT, but still loan close is not achieved. Key feature of the concession. The period was 20 to 25 years we thought, but finally it was 25 years. Government of Punjab will contribute anything? No equity from it. What was the Government of Punjab share? Right of way, land, road. Government of Punjab to arrange the clearance of utilities with no financial outlay. Only they will arrange, and private partner will pay the cost. Government of Punjab has not granted any exemption from the provincial taxes. ROBC, Road Building Operating Company, minimum equity 30%, and 70% they can take loan from the bank. M&R and future improvement funds to be placed in project escrow account. Now, escrow account is the new term which has come in. So this is a specialized account which is maintained by third party, and then what you do, you say, okay, this money is coming in bits and pieces from the user. Put this money into escrow account, so you have funds for maintenance, you have funds for the loan payback at appropriate time. So this arrangement also is now a compulsory in buildings, developers. In India now it has become rule. Okay, all developers will maintain a escrow account, and as the development is taking place, the money will be released as per the contract. So then this will save the investors. They get whatever 20% work done, first installment will go. Then they will fix installment. So this is a safety for the release of funds for a particular thing which you are thinking. Toll rates and its escalation was agreed by Government of Punjab. Okay, what will be the rate and how it will be escalated every 5 years, 3 years, and what will be the rate of escalation. Project to be transferred to Government of Punjab, requiring no major maintenance 5 years after transfer. The existing revenue generating ancillary facilities not included in the concession. However, Government of Punjab might favorably consider to transfer these rights to RFB's operational stage. Targeted profit, FIRR 18%. What is FIRR? Internal rate of return, financial internal rate of return. A little bit demonstration made here, so you can understand what is this. The concession agreement provided the underlying security for each of these transactions. Step in and substitution rights provided to the lenders in the event of any default under the financing agreement. If there is a default, what will happen? So the right was given to the bankers. They will take over the project. So this was inbuilt in the concession agreement. Comprehensive remedial measures to mitigate the risk in case of early termination. To resolve disputes, board DAB was board was formed. Then bridge financing for food projects. Government of Punjab agreed to provide bridge financing guarantee to any eventuality in debt retiring during currency of Lahore Faisalabad project to 700 million provided by LAFCO. The condition is the maximum repayment period will be 2 years, only for debt repayment to the existing lenders. The lenders, their existing debt and all other liabilities, obligations of the ROBs shall become subordinated to such bridge financing. So how it was worked? Analysis was run, which is called risk analysis, sensitivity analysis. We saw that if revenue will fall 25%, so what scenario it will generate? Or traffic or cost increases. So there different scenarios were built, and then we studied where the green, you see here government, there was need for viability gap funding. So after all these studies, we came to know what is the maximum shortfall can come in different scenarios. But it is good of this project, such thing didn't happen. No payment was made to the LAFCO for this thing. So this means our projections were accurate enough. The project didn't need this thing. But this, you have to run this. Whenever you do a PP project, you will risk analysis you will do. Sensitive analysis will be done. So you will know where how the FIR going below the line means you need help. It has gone down and then coming up. So this is a good sign. Next. This is also another analysis, different type of analysis of the thing. Next. What is happening now? This is important because 2/3 period has already passed. Okay, is public happy? If not, what is the reason? So, trust in PP3 regime not built. Did not place DRP. Government of CNW department was indifferent with the project. They should have done many things. They didn't. So ownership is very important. Making project is not important. Trust in P3 regime not built. People don't have trust because they are not getting service. Insured, they didn't insure escrow account. Even they did not insure escrow account. So the ROBC did not do the maintenance work as per the concession agreement. They delayed the result, bad road. Computers not happy. So that's not good. Monitor traffic growth not done. Private partner was supposed to submit regular audit reports, not done. Perform its maintenance operational obligations, delayed. Conclusion, commuters' dissatisfaction for deteriorating road condition and increasing toll rates. Constant denial of the value for money. Good public and bad private debate is on. So what is the recommendation for the future? Strengthen implementing agency nodes. Every implementing agency like CNW department, like any other, they have nodes. They have small sections who are doing BOT projects. But there's a need to increase their capacity. Conduct feasibility studies, identify bankable projects. Provide finance for the conducting feasibility study. Involve economic experts at feasibility stage to determine viability gap. Strengthen PPP cell in PDD. And the last but not the least, where there is a will, there is will. Where there is no will, there is service. Thank you very much. Any question? यार पानी में पिला दो यार। ये नहीं गई तुझे समझे ऐसी रोजा रख के मैं आया था। I am now देखिए जी, I give you my brief. I am now 70. Alhamdulillah. I retired as chief engineer in the CNW department, and I worked abroad about more than 15 years. And road and bridges is my specialty. Now I'm running my own business, my own consultancy, with name of AZ Engineering Associates for the last 10 years. Immediate after my retirement, I started this business, and Alhamdulillah, we have done more than 40-50 billion rupees work in 10 years. And at one time, when things were good, we have an employment strength of more than 350 engineers, technicians in civil engineering profession, mostly. So we are still good. We're doing this, and we are hopeful to do this business. But one thing we are lacking, which is not good. That is that we don't trust young people. No, we should interest. We should. No, this is why we will suppose I will die today or tomorrow, which I will, and which everybody will. So there is no corporate structure to take over the firm. 10 years this is not a small period. It's the national assets now. It should not close. It should continue. So this is our weakness, I think. If we are afraid that somebody will come and take some profit out of us. I personally am not afraid, but my partners are more afraid for me. Yes.
Question answer, I have 20
Ji.
minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. If you have any questions, we would encourage you to ask them.
Yes, you are encouraged to ask questions. I'm here. That is more important than this lecture. But I want Suhail to. Suhail he's doing his PhD in statistics. He's a transport man, and he has worked with me for the last 25 years. He should explain in briefly FIRR to the audience before we. And questions can come. Even questions can now come, but quickly, yaar. You can quickly, ताकि FIR इधर ही बोर्ड पे.
FIR.
हाँ बस ताकि मैं चाहता हूँ कि इसको opportunity यानी NPV and FIR, these two things.
Knowledge. And I have an opportunity as Mr. Ibrahim Khaja, we meet to explain what is the actual faculty for the viability of project, any development project, and not only the roads. I'm experiencing still in many other fields like livestock and dairy department, water sanitation as well. So here I'm going to explain a few concepts which are necessary to understand the PPP concept. Initially, what we require that the capital investment of a project. But investors basically need the business security for any activity that they want. So this business security may have many aspects like the legislation, but most important one, another thing, the financial return, the economic savings for the public, even if for the investors, for the public sector as government. So business security is the most important thing what an investment needs in any way. So how can we measure all the things? There are three main indicators used to determine the viability of a project, like the benefit cost ratio over the overall concession period, whatever we define of the concession period. That means the operational period, design and the operational period. Maybe, as we have discussed here, over 20 to 25 years. So this is a big opportunity for the investors that they will invest and that they will get returns for over 20 to 25 years. It's a very good appealing one, but how can it be measured? So one is indicator, BC ratio, benefit cost ratio known, and the net present value, overall the investments and even the net benefits. And then the third one, the IRR. IRR means the internal rate of return for any opportunity cost that has been invested on any project. So that's why.
It is a likely return, not must return.
But
It is a likely return which we anticipate at the time of project framing.
that's it in terms of temptation. Temptation for the investor. Likely return, temptation for the investor. So there should be a good appealing for a project for the investment. But it has two terms further. The first one, when a project is economically viable.
फिर इसको लंबा ना करें, इसको बड़ा मुश्किल करें, क्योंकि टाइम नहीं है।
Financially viable.
और सिर्फ इसको यही फाइनेंशियल के ऊपर रखो और इसके वो बताए ना कि कॉस्ट ऑफ जो है ना, जो एक आप जब आप लोन लेंगे या कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट करें, पीपल हु विल कम फॉर इन्वेस्टमेंट, they will come to a company, okay, we are ready to invest, but we will want a 10% guaranteed profit. That is from here, it is a capital, वो कैपिटल से शुरू करो और फिर ये this is a guaranteed, it has to come whenever. And how it is seen, if your NPV, उसको बताएं, उसको लिंक करें with NPV. If NPV is positive, then we understand your BC ratio is more than 1. We understand that that profit is already built in. It can be 10%, it can be 12%. State Bank of Pakistan allows up to 12% discounted rates. So you actually, what happens is that there is a outgoing cash flow of today. You spend some money today, then you get some money in 25 years. Both are not comparable. One is cost of today, then other is the cost of 1, 2, 3, 4, 25 years. So what you do, you bring all this, you discount all this money and bring it to the today's outflows, inflows, and then you try to compare. If inflows are more than inflows are more than outflow, then this means that NPV, net present value, is more than 1. Your project is safe. And what is the return? Because you are here, जैसे अब we will calculate the compound interest. It is a reverse of the common. Discount is reverse of interest. We will divide it. So we see that whenever it is a positive, means that the company is getting 10%. But what should be the margin over it? That is explained through IRR. Okay, then what we do, okay, this net present value, how we can discount this cash inflows, okay, this NPV becomes 0. When this NPV becomes 0, we will say, okay, that is your margin of profit, IRR, internal rate of return. So that anyhow, there's so many terminology. I think engineers should. What I wanted to tell you is, okay, you cannot teach all these things, but give you a food for thought. Okay, please go and try to learn terminology. This is a modern knowledge. I'm not expert of PPPs, but I did some research for today's lecture. only for young engineers. So I want they should get benefit. They should at least know what this concept is and adopt it by practicing it. Thank you very much.
जो भी बच्चों कैसे
हमारे पॉलिटिकल सिनेरियो में ये क्या इसकी
Political scenario should change. What I want to say is that we should become stable nation.
obviously
It is unfortunate. I'm not a politician. As an engineer, I'm not happy. Because बड़ी unemployment. I had 350 employees. आज मेरे पास 100 है. This is very bad. 250 trained आदमी से मरूम हो चुके. All job is. तो मैं अब जब job लेने के job छीन रहा था. So it is not a success. So we are all hopeful that things will change. Things should change for the better. हम काम करते रहेंगे कोई डरते थोड़ी हैं
प्राइवेट सेक्टर जो है इंसेंटिव कहीं मिलेगा ना जब
that is a prerequisite for any investment. Any investment. आप अपना घर नहीं बनाएंगे investment क्या करेंगे? You will not build your house कहीं wait को एक साल हो. Like देखो कि यार की हो है अरे ना हो गया मैं बाहर डाल दे मैं पहले साल देखते थे. Anyhow, please.
Any more questions?
Question तो आए कोई नहीं होगी.
Please go ahead.
मुझे तो अभी क्वेश्चन नहीं कोई नहीं.
सर एक क्वेश्चन था
जी.
जनरल इसका स्ट्रक्चरल मॉडल है जिसमें इसके सारे के सारे एसेंशियल एलिमेंट्स जो हैं वो हम मैपिंग की शो कर सकें या देख सकें कि ये सारे के सारे कंपोनेंट्स हैं किसी भी पीपीटी को
Oh yes, why not? ये रोटेशन इज अवेलेबल. लेकिन मैंने जैसे अगर सुना होगा आपने, I told you that there is no one model for PPP. अब fuzzy model बन रहा है. Fuzzy is a science-based Iranian है, mathematician, और उसने बहुत सारी नई चीजें आजकल वो is inventing. आप पहले कंप्यूटर में हम कहते थे परफेक्ट है 0 1 उसने फिर लोग से फ्रैक्शन हो नहीं सकती. फैक्ट इज ओनली वन वो गॉड है. तो उसने साबित किया है कि देयर इज नो फ्रैक्शन. अब उसको उसकी मैथमेटिक्स उसने चेंज कर दिया. सारा कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ मैथमेटिक्स है चेंज. तो उसने ही इज ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड ए मॉडल जिसको आप समझ रहे हैं कि एक सामने वो यूनिक मॉडल. देयर इज नो यूनिक बिकॉज़ थिंग्स आर चेंजिंग. इसमें शायद डिफरेंट है, हर काम डिफरेंट है, बट कॉन्सेप्ट इज सेम. कॉन्सेप्ट यू कैन गेट, मॉडल्स यू मे नॉट गेट. लेकिन अगर आप मेहनत करें और बनाए मॉडल, चैलेंज है कि ऐसा मॉडल बनाए जिसमें तमाम वेरिएशंस को ऑब्जॉर्व करें कि मार्केट वेरिएशंस हो, पॉलिटिकल वेरिएशंस हो, तो सारा मॉडल फ्री होगा ना. अगर ये चेंज हो रहा है तो वो कंप्यूटर पे आपको बताए कि ओ हियर इज द रिस्क. तो इससे इस तरह का फिजिकल मॉडल नहीं है. एटलीस्ट आई हैव नॉट सीन एंड आई ट्राई टू सी. मेरा भी ये ख्वाहिश थी कि कैन वी से कि एक मॉडल है. नो देयर इज नो. मैंने दिस आई सेड इन माय आर्टिकल आल्सो, यू नो देयर इज नो सिंगल मॉडल जिसको फॉलो करके हम सक्सेस की करते हैं. So every project is a model itself. So you have to build that project on the basis of your knowledge, your analysis and experience.
So is that it? Okay, it's my privilege to thank Father Zubair Imran a very distinguished speaker for us on behalf of Pakistan Society of Civil Engineers and on my own behalf. Sir, thank you very much. We are honored by your presence. Now it's time for distribution of certificates. Before the certificates, we'll have a humble shield for a distinguished speaker. I request Mr. Adil Ali Bhatti to hand over the shield to the speaker. Now it's time for your participation certificates. It will be counted towards your professional credit points. So this is Mr. Nadeem Mahmood. Mr. Dr. Sattar Rafi, a very senior professional. Mr. Amanat Ali. Mr. Hassan Naik, Mr. Arif Ali Khan, a very senior colleague. Mr. Shakir Ahmed, Engineer Amna Chaudhary, Mr. Osama Shaheen Rizvi, Mr. Zishan Ahmed, Mr. Abdul Hanan Ahmed, Mr. Gulzar Khan, Mr. Muhammad Daniyar, Mr. Umar Akib, Mr. Muhammad Usman Ishaq, Mr. Abdul Rahman, Mr. Muhammad Uzair Qamar, Mr. Wasim Khan, Mr. Muhammad As-Salam Khan, Engineer Amna Siddiq, Mr. Harun Safdar, Mr. Abdul Bakar Akhtar, Engineer Aghosh Gul Khawaja. Aghosh Gul Khawaja is my daughter. She's not wearing my office. Despite my Mr. Sadiq Hussain. So thank you very much once again. If you participated in the seminar, we'll issue you a certificate right away before you leave. Okay? Thank you very much. Join us for the tea. इनका सर्टिफिकेट बना दें। Is it really a